1 p.m. We are calling to order this special meeting of the Lancaster Select Board. How are you? For Thursday, June 22nd at 5 p.m. Reminder to folks, this is being recorded as well as broadcast on Sterling-Lancaster Community Television. We will do a roll call. To begin the meeting, Mr. Allison.
Here.
Mr. Kerrigan here. Ms. Turner is not here, and she sends her regrets. This meeting was originally scheduled for Monday the 26th. We all know how schedules work. Sometimes when you plan these things way in advance, there was a scheduling conflict for two of us, so we had to reschedule. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make this meeting. She sends her regrets. There are also some items on the agenda that she had asked for, which we will table to a future meeting so that she can address them then. This does not impact the issues before the many folks in the room, it would be my guess. But first item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from June the 5th, 2023.
Move to approve the Select Board meeting minutes of June 5th, 2023.
And I will step down as chair to second that. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 2-0-0. All right.
And we had talked about a phone number for it, so.
I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody real quick.
Okay. Awesome. Great. We would normally take public comment at this point, but since I took the chair about a year ago, if there are folks in the room, obviously on a particular topic that is on the agenda, we like to take it out of order. So we will take the middle school reuse item out of order and take it up now. The last meeting we discussed the report that had been done by council for us. The step that we needed to take was review it further, ask any questions that we had. We've done that to the extent that we need to on the board side. What we need to do now is to vote to waive privilege, which I suspect we will do any moment now. When we do, we'll ask the town administrator to then forward that report to the relevant chairs of the reuse committee, Concom, Recreation, somebody else, Council on Aging? No, who was the list?
Memorial School Trust. The Affordable Housing?
Affordable Housing Trust, that was the other one. Yeah.
Planning, Zoning Board of Appeals, Conservation, Recreation.
Okay. Those people. And then at the next meeting, after you all have had a chance to digest the report, in fairness, you need time to read it, the next meeting, we will consider action, which the next step is you all have asked us to allow you to move forward with an engineering study of the structure that would support the recommendation or not that the committee is making. So we want to keep this moving further along. So the step that we told you we had to take last time is the step we're going to take hopefully now, which is to waive privilege. Then we will get you that study, give you guys plenty of chance to take a look at it, and then the next meeting we'll have a discussion with you all about it, and then hopefully move to the next step. You seem confused.
So I thought we were going to share conclusions on it.
That's-
Are we going to do that today?
So yeah, we're sharing the
Okay.
report. Yeah.
The report, but you're going to talk to us about it too? Because you had a...
Well, we want you to get a chance to read it. We have to waive privilege from council for you to read it. So we wanted to give you a chance to read it. We don't have concerns about the results of it. I don't believe you'll have concerns about the results of it, but we want to give you a chance to make your own assessments, to read it as a committee. You've spent a lot of time on this. We couldn't get together at a quicker time to waive the privilege. We're doing it as early as we can. We'll let you all read it. It's not a terribly long read. I think you'll reach similar conclusions that we will, but I don't want to, we haven't discussed the conclusion because that would be a violation of open meeting, but my guess is you'll reach a similar conclusion. So, but we're going to move in relatively rapid succession. Considering the 20-something years we've been at this, we are trying to move this piece relatively quickly.
So I was just hoping, we've been waiting a long time just for a summary of like what it said, so. And
Yeah,
what
I
your
mean,
opinion of it is. Yeah, just a high level.
Yeah, so first we have to waive it. We have to waive privilege, and then maybe we'll ask the town administrator to give you a quick thumbnail sketch of what it is. But again, we want you to have time to read it. So the action we'll take today is waiving privilege. I don't want you to think that any discussion after this means we'll take any further action tonight. We want to have a full board complement and give you a chance to read it. So I would entertain a motion to waive privilege relative to
What's that document called? Does it have a name?
Memorial School, well, yeah, hold on a second, let me go up here.
Just make sure you're using the right name.
Yeah.
Lancaster Town Green Property and Memorial School legal opinion.
So I second the motion to
You make the
waive-
motion.
Oh.
She can't make a motion.
I thought you made the motion.
No, I can't make a motion either, I'm the chair. You know, it is true by Robert's Rules of Order. I didn't make it up. Robert did. Take it up with him. Just make
You're
the
the
motion.
chair and you're always
Just-
right.
Well, thank God for the television.
I'd like to make a
and the recording.
motion to waive privilege on the Memorial School reuse opinion from council.
I will step down from the chair to second that. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
I,
Aye. Privilege is waived. Magic. Now, Kate, would you mind giving a thumbnail sketch?
Yep, so the main opinion is about 7.5 pages long, and then there's another 40-something pages of addendums and whatever. Most of it you all have probably seen at nauseum. Some of it you may not have, so I would urge you to go through it, but I will read the conclusion, which is very short. Considering all the foregoing, I believe the town's options for use of the Memorial School property include 1, reuse of the school building or the property for a recreational and playground use, or 2, a petition in the nature of Cypress to permit another use of the property in the hopes that the court will be sympathetic to the town's apparent good faith effort to release the use limitations prior to constructing the school and the extensive period of time during which the school has occupied this portion of the property. I'm sure that's as clear as mud, but when you read it,
Would you read that second one
Yeah,
again,
the second
please?
one, just processing.
yeah. So a cypress means as close, it's French. So a cypress, the petition in the nature of a cypress to permit another use of the property in the hopes that the court will be sympathetic to the town's apparent good faith effort release to use limitations prior to constructing the school and the extensive period of time during which the school has occupied this portion of the property. When you read the data that goes along with that conclusion, you will see, and in the title search, etc., there was some measure of the legislature and the government at the time to release some of the restrictions on that small portion of the land. However, in looking at it at the lens that they did as in-depth as here, the legal opinion is that we didn't necessarily do that properly and correctly. However, it's been so long and no one from the family that was part of the gift has come forward. However, to the letter of the law, if there was going to be another renovation that was not in keeping with the original deed restrictions that were there, that would need another act of the legislature to have that happen.
So the way I read it was that when they put the school there, the way they did it might not pass muster now to go through the deed restrictions. But it might be accepted as a school because it's been there for, 70 years. It might be pushing our luck to want it to be another purpose that's not specifically in that deed restriction, which is why they start their executive summary with the recreation component that you all recommend. So it's basically legally is to say, we recommend, this is a very clear use, but we can't say that a court might not look upon the history of this location and favorably decide a different use would be okay, but it's based on a lot of shaky ground. So,
It would have to go to court.
yes, yeah.
Do they address the bundling of all of the
properties?
parcels?
In
And
the-
the
yeah.
impacts of that in their?
Well, one of the specific things that we were asking about the church building was, or so the school building was the deed restriction relative to the bequeath from Mrs. Thayer on the use of that land relative to recreation versus school. There is some discussion in a lot of those attachments about the surrounding parcels, things like that, but the question that they focused on is
it's 53 pages.
yeah.
Consume it all and then we should.
That's nothing. I read 3,000 page things every week.
He's your guy then. But we're just glad that we waived it. You guys get a chance, at least have a sense of the direction that it's headed in.
Just one other question. Were you able to share the documentation, the research that we did as a committee with them? I'm just wondering if it was helpful
Yes.
at all to them. We spent
Yes.
a lot of time kind of researching records, and it's just nice to know if that was helpful.
Yeah, we want to let her grade.
We didn't charge thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and that's why
Me neither, but
a lot of that is included in here, and you'll see it. Some of it that's a little bit further back, or found in some of the more obscure legal, libraries is also in here. But I think it will be very familiar to.
And in the interest, and I don't think you're alluding to this, but we had to do this separate research in order for the result to have the validity of having been looked at by a neutral party, which is why we did this. We moved along pretty quickly.
And our aim was to help prepare for that process.
And you did a fantastic job, and we thank you. Yeah. Any other questions about this? Awesome.
No surprises.
So we will move this along. Please look at it. Please look at it. Please come back.
Your inbox.
It's in your inbox. Look at it. Come back at our next meeting with any more questions you might have, and then we'll be able to have a full board complement and be able to take some action.
Thank you.
And goes without saying, we say this I think at every meeting, but thank you for volunteering to do this utterly thankless task of being the 3rd or 19th Memorial School Reuse Committee. So thank you very much. We appreciate the effort. Awesome. Well, now we will go back into order and go to public comment. And as is our practice, to remind folks, the Supreme Judicial Court said you can say whatever you want. We get to say how long you get to say it for. So we ask folks to, if they're in the room, to make their way to the podium. 2 minutes for comments. I will signal to you when you have 1 minute to go. And please state your name and address here in Lancaster before you begin. If there's no one in the room, we will yield to folks on the Zoom. If there's no one on the Zoom, it'll be a very brief public comment. And it appears as such. Seeing nobody making their way to the podium and no hands up, we call the close to public comment. All right. Thank you, everybody. Next up, I believe, is administration, budget, and policy. We just did step 1. Step 2 is the Energy Committee update.
We didn't do step 1.
Oh, sorry, Town Administrator Review. In my mind, Memorial Day reuse was there. Sorry, Memorial School reuse. Sorry. Step 1 is Town Administrator Review. We had tasked Select Board Member Allison with coming up with the process for our Town Administrator's review and reporting back to the board as we begin that process, so please do so now.
Yeah, so spent a good amount of time getting information and going through it. I feel like we're in a good spot. I'd like to wait to distribute it until Select Board Member Turner's here, so I would appreciate to be able to table that until our next meeting.
That sounds great.
But I guess what I wanted to come and try to say is the work is done. I don't want it to look like I didn't do anything.
Totally appreciate that. So our next meeting is July 3rd, so you'll be able to present that stuff then, yes?
No,
No.
I will not be able to make July 3rd.
Copy
It's a
that.
holiday.
Oh, on this agenda it says July 3rd, okay. I thought that was an odd day to have a meeting.
Which
but-
is why, yeah.
Copy.
July
At our next
10th will probably work better for me, but we'll figure it
We
out.
will figure it out. Okay, great. All right, so I just heard a motion to table Town Administrator Review. I will step down, second it.
Do we need a motion?
Well, we're tabling something, moving to the next thing, yeah.
Second?
I seconded, you moved. All in favor? Aye, great. Fantastic. The next 2 items are Select Person Turner's, the Energy Committee update and next steps, and earth removal fees that she has to put on the agenda. She's asked to have those tabled to the next meeting. Is there a motion to do such for both?
So moved.
Step down, Dan will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those are tabled. Appointments. Under the appointment section, we have the Tax Fairness Committee nominations and appointments.
So we received one from Rory Resnick for a committee member at large. either this evening or at some other time, we are looking for a select board nominee. The Council on Aging meets tomorrow, and hopefully we'll receive their nominee. And Finance Committee met on Tuesday, but they were having an issue with their Zoom, as was Government Study Committee, and so their meeting was cut short after about a half an hour, and so we'll have to get them at their next meeting, which is, I believe, in 2 weeks.
Okay.
How long are the terms?
It's an
Well, it's ad hoc, so
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Roy Resnack to the Tax Fairness Committee.
I'll step down from the chair and second that. Any discussion on the motion?
Thank you, Roy.
Thank you, Roy. That's our standard comment on people volunteering. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, great. Congratulations, Roy. From the select board,
Maybe wait till
I think we should, I was just gonna say, we'll wait until we have a full complement. Anything else on tax fairness? So we're just waiting for the other committees and then more at-large members to submit. We need 2 more at-large?
yep.
So we encourage folks, Tax Fairness Committee is an ad hoc committee, which means once it's done, it goes away. You're not locked into a long term. But this is the first step we are taking to looking at our tax structure and finding hopefully a way to do some means testing for our senior population and those in need of reduced property tax burden. We approved this at the annual town meeting, and we just need to populate it with some well-intentioned citizens. So please submit if you're interested in volunteering. Old business, we did just do Memorial School reuse. Vendor fees and fairgrounds user surcharge, that was a select person Turner item. We are also hoping to table that.
Yeah, I can go to the next one. Where do you want to table it?
Table,
Second.
right? Aye. That's tabled. Public records, costs and volume.
Yeah, so this is something that I've been trying to gather information on. So from speaking with Kate, I don't really know how to gauge Lancaster.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. I think I mumbled through this. This is public records, costs and volumes of public records requests. Sorry, to introduce it properly.
So to recap, what I've been trying to understand is, we throw around a lot of, well, it's a lot of work, there's a lot of public records requests, like let's stop being qualitative and let's be quantitative on really what is the impact to the town of Lancaster. So in speaking with Kate, in the last 10 months, public records requests have cost the residents of Lancaster $60,000. Give or take, right? No less than $60,000. So we as a town have to decide if we're good with that or if we're not good with it. Now, obviously, the state of Massachusetts allows all of that, and that's great, but we have to decide how we're going to pay for that. Currently, we are impacting town staff, which it's their job, but one thing I want to show with that 60,000 number is that is like almost a full-time person, if not a full-time person. So we are absolutely, as a town, getting reduced service from our staff so that we may deliver on our required public records costs. So to the board, and we can talk this at a future meeting, is this is probably something we should budget, right? And this is something we have to have a serious conversation about because it's not free. So $60,000 for 10 months is the number we're at right now, and that's real money. So I just wanted to present that to the board. Obviously, this is something we can talk about in more detail with Select Board Member Turner, but I want to get the ball rolling because I want to get away from the conversations of, my observations of like it's a lot of work, and I want to get into the conversations of how are we going to pay for this. If we need a full-time person, let's budget it and let's do it and move on. But if it's just something that we're going to deal with and ask existing staff to keep doing it, and what is it going to do? Grow 60, 80, 100? Like where's it going? So anyway, I wanted to put a number to it. The number is 60K, and we can talk at a future meeting. I don't know, Kate, is there anything I haven't misstated?
No, it was an interesting exercise. It was 701.6 hours, give or take.
Yeah.
varying rates of
And not just
staff.
one role, not just one person.
Right, right.
No.
And that's what I will say.
Probably a dozen staff, give or, you know.
And not one of those, and yes, people come into these jobs, public servants, and many will say, as Jason alluded to, that's their job. Not one of them applied to be a public records request clerk. None of them wanted to do that. They do it as part of their job because it is a necessary part of their job. But that's not why they joined town service, and it would be great if we can get to a way either smartly looking at a budget and budgeting for what we actually do and not what we'd hoped we did, or hopefully finding a way to reduce those public records requests. But in lieu of that, I think your suggestion makes a lot of sense. So I look forward to having that larger discussion at the next.
I would be remiss if I didn't try to get on a little bit of a throne here and say, you know,
Knock your socks off.
if we as residents need public records requests, we should absolutely make them. It is our right, we have earned it, let's do it. However, if we're using it for nefarious means or weaponizing or anything like that, like as a town, I think we should just decide to stop because it's real money, and that's my opinion on it. But we will discuss it as a board going forward.
I don't want to clarify your own point, but I think you mean just in general, everyone should just take a beat. The town can't stop, which is I think your earlier point. We have to respond to the public records requests when they come in. It would be wonderful if folks, it honestly also impacts people who honestly, and I don't like to ascribe a motive, but like someone who really needs to use the system for something that they absolutely need to have a public records request around, the volume of them can impact the town's ability to respond in a quick enough fashion for those who might truly, really, by their own assessment, need it. But at any rate, we've gone on enough about it.
I want to go on one more because it's actually a super interesting conversation, right? Because fundamentally and academically, it's a great right to have. But if you think back 100 years ago, right, it was just a piece of paper somewhere, and you either had the piece of paper or you didn't. Now it's tremendously different. It is emails, it's thousands, hundreds of thousands of digital media, and you know, in my opinion, it's very difficult to navigate, and I think as we're going to find, difficult to fund. So it's just a challenge in our new digital age.
Can I just add, just as a, just for an educational piece, that a lot of times I'm hearing people say, well, why don't you just produce the records, which if the requests are simple, which you'll see, you know, a lot of them, it's 0.25 or 0.25 half an hour. It's the ones that there are 15 different types of exemptions. And so what happens when you either exempt an entire record or you have to redact a portion of a record is that you then have to come up with a written response outlining where everything was redacted, the reason it was redacted, the reason specific to that, and what has been happening, and myself included, is, you know, we're not attorneys, and so we may miss one. It may be that it has 14 redactions and 13 reasons were supplied, and so those then are challenged, which is perfectly fine at the state level. And you know, that brings a whole nother level of complexity. So we had 12 records challenges that equated to somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 hours for staff and about $6,200 for legal. So, you know, it's a good learning experience, but certainly if we wanted to get somebody to do this for their job, even part-time, you would certainly want somebody who's very well versed. And when you look at, you know, some of the requests, a lot of the things have to be redacted by me because they're either contract, they're personnel related, or they're correspondence between the board and or council. So those are not something that we can just give to someone else. So.
Well, I appreciate you raising it, I appreciate the research, and I look forward to the more in-depth conversation. All right, with that 24-minute agenda, we have reached the end of our meeting.
No, we need to know when we're meeting again, because the superintendent would like to come, which is part of the miscellaneous
I was
correspondence.
just going to say, except for the end of the,
Okay, sorry.
don't tell me I've done something wrong until I've done it. except for setting time for our next meeting and dealing with any miscellaneous correspondence. You want to take the miscellaneous correspondence first? I would like to reach out to our colleague to make sure we have her times set so that we aren't
Yep.
scheduling something when she can't make it.
Yeah, I thought we had it here that the next meeting was July.
It says July the 3rd on the agenda.
Right, that was incorrect, but I believe there was one date of the 17th, another of the 24th, and I don't know if either or neither of those work, so.
Well, we will look forward to a posting near you for our meeting. All right. Any other new business or communications or anything? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Have a good evening.